Most people in life are looking for how do I make a life worth living and a retirement worth having. When I talk about the magic and mayhem of the Lord, people don't always hear the magic. They don't know the magic because I don't share the magic that I experience every day. When I don't share it, it's because I have a special story, a love story that I'm not willing to talk about in the public eye, so that any person who wants to listen, any voyeur, any person I don't know, any stranger, can take that information and utilize it against the ones I love. You see, when I do those presentations, they are paid presentations in a platform, in an organization, in a church, in a synagogue, in a sanctuary, in a non-for-profit, or in a homeless shelter. And that's what I do every single day. At the present time, I am resting. I'm resting because men in this sinful community thought that they would lace my food and take me someplace and destroy the insides of my body. I am openly bleeding inside, and I have horrible hemorrhoids, but do you really want that TMI information said to you? Do you really care about my health? Are you praying for my health, or are you praying against a man's health in a way that the Lord will punish you? You see, you cannot pray against someone's health. You don't have the right to monitor someone's body. The Lord was helping me to fix my body and its defects. I know this because I was watching my own body transform by listening to the Lord teach me what to eat, how often to eat, and all those things was fixing me after a long time of illness. But someone decided they wanted to play God in my life. They decided they wanted to ruin my life. I had a sibling who thought she would just put things into a file and let someone see it. The Muslim doctors who got involved have ruined my life records. The men of the force who thought they had rights to opinion about my body have no scientific skills, no cellular capabilities, no understanding of all the things I went through long, long ago in my youth to finish out what was happening to me physically. They didn't ask me why I had this situation. They didn't ask me about my transition. They didn't ask me about how I handled my health. They just wanted to voyeur on my body. The sheriff in Indiana are a vile people is absolute truth. And I have the right, underneath the First Amendment, to render an opinion as a journalist. I also have the right, under the First Amendment, to assemble with people, but some little girl in the religious right thought she'd run around town and talk about my medical rights. Who the hell gave her the right to give away anything of my privacy at all? We live in a world of voyeurism. We have YouTube, we have social media, we have our eyes, too. It's amazing how people treat me. I went into a hotel the other day because my battery was completely low on my phones. I couldn't make the phone call the Lord had prompted me to make to tell someone I loved them very much. That's all I was supposed to say in response to her request in her prayer. And in that moment, the man behind the counter, who was obviously undereducated about the world and living in a life that he probably wasn't thrilled with, just looked down at me and with such disdain. He honored me and allowed me the use of the phone, but I had to actually tell this young man in his probably late 20s and early 30s that this was a private call and that I needed him to step away from the desk. You see, there's a matronly person in every hotel. There's a matronly woman in every business office. I can remember visiting a Champaign business office needing to make a phone call, and the woman who was about my age said, "No problem, we'd be happy to help you." But then her matronly boss, who was much older, in her 50s or 60s, came in and refused to allow me that help on the computer, stood over me making the actual call for me as if I wasn't old enough and mature enough to dial the phone number, and stood there listening to me make a business call as a man. It was not humiliating for me, it was insulting to herself. That such a vileness in people is there. That these total strangers will look at me and shake their head, predominantly white men who are driving trucks do this. I've had truck drivers be very loving and kind to me. Most of them don't live with great wealth because they produce loving families that they cherish and that they dote on because they're gone a lot during the year. So they make it up by spending on them with the money that they make in their earnings. And also not every level of truck driver is making that 80 grand every year. I had a neighbor to a sibling who I'm pretty sure has been stealing us blind. And when I stayed with my sister, someone kept getting in and out of her house, taking things from me, cutting my photos of my old family. I have very few photos of that, and someone destroyed all of my photography of my language program. What kind of a monster does that? In life, when we take an attack on someone's life, we actually alter the course of our very existence. We alter the Akashic, and I can never say it quite right, record, the plan for our life. But you see, the Lord can only be the one to put us back on track. When we try to ruin someone else's life, when we steal like Courtney and her boys do, when we do all these lying things, when we take over someone's phone, when we think we're going to play, when we destroy a body, when we destroy life records, we destroy our own lives. Not only do we ruin our life in front of the Lord, we ruin our life in front of other people who hear us tout and brag and be incredibly stupid. The number of people you've told now is your lie. The number of people you thought you had rights to talk to is your lie. I don't know that little girl, but you know what? Her little boy insulted me because of the lies she was telling him about me. I met her almost face to face, and she was